What is up, everyone? We are live. It's called Soccer. This is the show that we talk about U.S. soccer. That's pretty obvious. This is the podcast crew. I am Jake, joined to you in London. We have our man on the ground in Germany, Ryan, and our aspiring astrophysicist, Tom. Guys, thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about the match that just occurred, the U.S. men's national team versus Morocco. We're going to review that, talk about the players positionally, how they did, what we thought. And then we're going to talk about this Uruguay game coming up. Uruguay has just defeated Mexico 3-0 last night. Looks to be a really good opponent for the U.S. preparing for the World Cup. Before we get into that, though, what's going on, guys? Tom, start with you. How are you?
Dude, doing great. Just making the final preparations to start the drive tomorrow to Kansas City. Getting ready to go to this game. Really hyped for USA Uruguay.
Awesome. What about you, Ryan?
Good, man. Unfortunately, a little bit of rough weather to start off the summer here in Germany. It's been like raining and supposed to have thunder and lightning all weekend. So hopefully finding some fun things to do inside and hang out here. Hopefully get to watch some games.
Cool. And this is a live show. So guys, if you are watching us live, make sure to drop all of your questions and comments into the chat and we'll be picking up on some of those. So guys, let's just dive right in. The U.S. defeated Morocco, the second best team or second ranked team in Africa. The game went pretty well, all things told, pretty smooth, but there was a penalty that was missed by Morocco. There were some subs that did better than others for the U.S. men's national team. And it was just a good test overall, but I think we can say pretty positive on our end. What did you guys think? Overall thoughts before we go into player by player?
It was a great game.
Yeah, I mean, overall, we saw some interesting things. Like, I think, Jake, you pointed out that Berhalter had some interesting tactical changes that we can get into a little bit. And I think that was something that we wanted to see from this window, was necessarily like some continuity and some new ideas. And I think we possessed the ball pretty well, and it was a fun game to watch.
Yeah. Tom, I think you got cut off a little bit. You were very succinct. You said, I think it was good. And then that was it.
Well, good. My Wi-Fi apparently has good timing then. But yeah, I was really excited about the result. We were all a little bit worried going in, but to see us handle business like that, to see us create chances against a very strong Morocco team is encouraging. We can talk a little bit about the defense as we go forward. I think that that's really the sticking point as to where we might sort of see things we could improve. But the fluidity of the front 4 or 5 was really, really strong in that game.
Yeah. Well, maybe let's pick up on that back line first and start with the goalkeeper position. We went with Matt Turner in goal. He's got to be the number one at this point, right, guys? Over Zach Steffen and Ethan Horvath. Maybe we see Ethan Horvath in one of these Nations League games, but if we had to start a competitive game today, it's got to be Matt Turner at this point between the posts, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I like him in there, but I wouldn't say it has to be. I would also be fine with Horvath in there as well. But
I was kind of trapping the Horvath stan on this.
Show. Well, I'm just saying, like, Turner has been great. I'd like to point out in the game those that he could catch, he did, and those that he needed to parry, he did a great job actually getting the ball out wide. He didn't really spill anything in front of him, and that's the strength that you see in Matt Turner. Is he's good with his hands and he's going to be safe. So that was reassuring to see. I think he had a really good game.
I think it was underrated how well he played with his feet too. There were a lot of really great moments where they just played around the press, and we can get into the stats as we go, but I was really impressed with his footwork.
Yeah, Ryan, what did you see from his feet? That's usually the knock on Matt Turner.
I didn't see any like howlers or blunders, so I'll take that as a victory.
Yeah, and Epictetus Casanova agrees with Ryan. He's clinging on to Ethan Horvath personally. Thanks for that comment, Epictetus. Tom, give us some stats then. What did Matt Turner do that was so good in this game with his feet? Maybe his saves too.
So Bill Connolly posted his sort of every single match he does a sort of really big statistical breakdown of everything you could ever imagine. And the stat that really sort of stuck out to me was that only 2% of Morocco's possessions began in the attacking third. They pressed, and they were high up the field for a lot of the game. And Turner, the center backs, the midfield, they just passed around the press all night long. Morocco was chasing the game. There's a great clip going around of just a minute and a half of us just passing around their press. And I think that to me stood out as a sort of huge win in that game. We didn't know how they would be able to do that against World Cup competition, and they showed the ability to really just play Berhalter's system around that press of Morocco all night long.
Yeah. One of the things I liked most about Matt Turner's distribution in the game against Morocco, he didn't have a 100% pass accuracy. That's because in the 10% that he did miss, he was safe with it. He kicked it long into a place where we could go ahead and press their defense, or he just got it out of dangerous areas. I felt like those were times when, if it was Zach Steffen, maybe it could have gone great and we could have had a line-breaking pass, or maybe it could have gone really poorly and put us into a dangerous position. We didn't necessarily need that in the game in Morocco, and Matt Turner did a really good job of kind of picking when he knew it was safe enough to try those passes and when he needed to just kick it long, get us reset, and get us out of danger. Anything else that needs to be said on Matt Turner? I just thought he had a really good game overall.
Yeah, overall, I think he can definitely hang his hat on that one. He had a very good game.
Nice. Tom, this is a big time from Sparkle Duck. He says Tom is the best numbers guy on YouTube.
I appreciate
it. We love Tom.
Totally agreed.
And quick plug, guys, for our Discord and for Tom's Twitter. He put together the Discord poll of the best 23 for the US that came out today. So we do that monthly on the Discord. I'll try and put the link in as someone else is talking today so that you guys can join and make sure to vote in the next month's poll. But that 23 we got, I hope people go see it because it's pretty close, in my opinion, to the best 23 that we could bring to the World Cup. All right, that's Matt Turner. We didn't see any other goalkeepers subbing in. Just a quick question on the goalkeeper. Do we try a different keeper against Uruguay, or is it Matt Turner again with the best 11?
If we're playing a World Cup group, we're going to play the same keeper, but I don't know if Berhalter sees it that way.
I think the safe play is definitely to have Turner go again.
Yeah, I agree. Johnny on Thin Ice says, yo, Tom, Ryan, and Jake. And you also asked a question about how we'll play against Uruguay. So we'll definitely get to that when we talk about that game. All right, the back line was pretty interesting to me. So we had Reggie Cannon as right back, Walker Zimmerman next to him, Aaron Long paired at the center back position, and Anthony Jedi Robinson at the left back position. I thought for the most part, we fared well. Walker Zimmerman, again, was just really stout in defense. I feel like he's kind of having the same rise that Miles Robinson had during the summer, where the Gold Cup and the Nations League, and then going into World Cup qualifying, where it's kind of like everyone kind of doubts that this MLS center back can be as good as he is. And then he just keeps proving to the team and himself how good he can be. Reggie Cannon was good. I wouldn't say amazing to be standing out in a team of 11 that played really well, but he did himself a good enough amount of favors to maybe get another run out in a best 11. I want to talk about Aaron Long, though, and see what you guys thought, because I thought there was a very widespread across the fan base and the opinions on Aaron Long and his performance against this team. Ryan, what did you see from him? Did he have a good game, or did he kind of put his name back to the back of the depth chart?
I mean, I don't think it has to be necessarily one thing or the other. I saw a lot of good moments from him, and then I saw shaky moments from him. I think we see a player in Aaron Long that it's great to see him, first of all, back from the Achilles injury. He definitely looks healthy, because there was, for instance, like in the 77th minute, there was a play with him tracking back with two Moroccan players on him with the ball played behind our defense. And he was able to keep up and get that ball out. So good to see him back healthy. I think we know what we see in him with his athleticism. He's a very athletic guy, tends to be a good 1v1 defender, but also sometimes with his feet, like he can be a little shaky. And I think there's a couple moments early on where he was a little slow to respond when the Morocco was crossing the ball, if he needed to slide over to pick up one of the Moroccan defenders that was running near post. So, but it was a fast-paced game in the beginning. I think people were getting their feet wet, but a couple shaky moments, but he figured it out. And overall, I think he had a decent game. And I still think if we have a full healthy roster of everybody to pick from, for me, he's not going to be in the starting two. But, overall, yeah, I think we know that he's a good 1v1 defender, but shaky with his feet, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tom, did he move at all in your depth chart of center backs?
I don't really think I moved him at all. He definitely doesn't move up for me, but I don't see him having a bad game. I think that it was fine. I think Berhalter even said that it was a learning experience for him. So even Berhalter agrees that it wasn't like a masterclass of a performance. I think there's a lot to be said though for the positional play of other players on the field and how that affected Long's performance. I think Jake, I'd especially like to hear your take on the US's formational shift to a back three and how that might have affected Long's performance. There's also some clips of Jedi and the entirety of the front five just not tracking back on turnovers and causing awful positional shifts that left Long in no man's land or having to scramble to sort of cover three guys. And so I think there was a lot that he was asked to do in this game that might not be asked of him in a World Cup qualifier or in a World Cup match where Jedi is actually hustling or where the front five is actually rushing back on defense. Plus that positional change definitely really screwed with the US back line for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah. And guys, if you haven't seen the breakdown of the game, essentially what Berhalter did and the tactical wrinkle that we're talking about in the back line is we were playing a 4-3-3 in defense and getting set. And then when we had possession, we were playing a 3 in the back system where we were shifting the back line left 1 and pushing Jedi, Anthony Robinson into the left wing position. And we were shifting the midfield over 1 to the right. So Brenden Aaronson kind of became a right midfielder. And then Yunus Musa and Tyler Adams were in the middle. I thought that that is going to cause issues because it's the first time we've played a system like that. So there were moments for Morocco that were really dangerous where they were making a quick switch. And I can remember one moment in the first 20-25 minutes when Morocco switched it to our right side, got past Reggie Cannon, and then the Moroccan attacker made a really nice dummy run, and they had a free shot at the top of the 18. Aaron Long did get caught tracking back and being a bit far away from the player that made the dummy run. So to me, it was Aaron Long hasn't been healthy and with the national team for a long time. He's playing with a center back that he hasn't played with and built chemistry with in Walker Zimmerman. And we were playing a new tactic and system that kind of left all three of the center backs in really difficult positions. But that is kind of what you get whether you play a 4-3-3 and you push your fullbacks really high up and you maybe leave your two center backs that are left vulnerable to the counterattack, or you play in this way where if the team makes a quick switch, they basically have a 3-on-3 or a 3-on-4, which is really dangerous numbers game to play for the US. So I think it's a mix of both. Like Long definitely needed to get his feet wet, like Ryan was saying. Matt, you said Aaron Long was poor in the first half, better in the second half. I think that's just building comfort. One other thing that I want to say on Aaron Long before we move along to Jedi and his performance was I thought that for us to be able to try out someone like Cameron Carter-Vickers or Eric Palmer-Brown, it was actually a good thing to start with Walker Zimmerman and Aaron Long, so that when Cameron Carter-Vickers came into the game, he had a partner that was playing at the speed of the game already. So it was easier to test Cameron Carter-Vickers and easier to see what he was all about playing next to a partner that had the speed of the game already. If we had started that game with Cameron Carter-Vickers paired with Eric Palmer-Brown, they would have been completely new in all aspects and facets of the match, including their chemistry together. So I just thought, like, all things told, Aaron Long did well enough. And I think he was in there for a reason so that we could have a true test for one of the other center backs coming in the second half. All right, let's move to Jedi's performance. He played kind of this dual left back in defense, left wing in attack position, got up and down the field. That's pretty normal for Jedi. But what did you guys think of Jedi's performance?
Well, you could definitely see, like, in the first 20 minutes, he was making like a point of pushing up. And I thought the real benefit of it was in the beginning, at least, it helped pin Hakimi back. And because he had to be there back to defend. So I don't know if that went into Berhalter's decision and he was planning, and that's why he wanted to have him pushing up the left side. But overall, it worked well in the beginning. But yeah, he definitely did seem to get tired towards the second half and wasn't tracking back all the time. But again, it's part of that shift. So tactically, it's what Greg wanted to do. I think it fits his strengths to push him up the field like that. Every time he is like bombing down the left-hand side, I feel like something positive is going to happen. Like he plays in beautiful balls all the time. So you got to put him in that position to do so. And I think Greg put him in a position to succeed in the beginning, but he just didn't have the endurance. And I think that's one of the exciting things about having World Cup in late November, December is all these guys should be fully fit and ready to go compared to, after season. We saw a little bit of that last night.
I wonder if he was trying to rest that knee. That's sort of something I was wondering if he was bombing up a lot. He definitely wasn't tracking back as much as I would like him to. But considering Fulham has mentioned that he has knee issues and might be going under surgery this summer, he might have been trying to protect that a little bit by just sort of playing in the role Berhalter's assigned him to push forward and not really worrying as much about his defensive responsibilities. The exciting thing about Jedi for me right now is how great his chemistry is starting to become with Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa. The three of them are really starting to gel really well in the attack. You're starting to see Pulisic feel comfortable releasing Jedi being able to hit passes to Musa. The three of them are really working well and combining down that left side, and that just really opens up our game so much more when Pulisic isn't having to do it all himself, and he knows he's got attackers he can trust with him. And Jedi being one of our stronger attackers on the left has been a great thing for the national team, and we saw it again against Morocco.
Yeah. And then we also saw a debutant, I believe Joe Scally came in for Jedi and played that left back position. Gave up a penalty that would never be called with VAR, I don't think. Very questionable
penalty.
Penalty. Pretty weak. Yeah.
Strong quotation marks. What did you guys make of his performance in his debut with the US?
I
liked it. No, I thought he looked comfortable. He was playing his game. You see him playing wing back a lot when he plays with Mönchengladbach. So he's very comfortable getting up the field. He did get beat one-on-one, kind of an open field against Hakimi that one time, but awesome to see him track back and that, getting his ball over it and kicking it back with his heel was, solid to see. He didn't give up on himself. He didn't get down. As a young man going up against a player of that magnitude, he could have shrunk in that moment, but he didn't. He stepped up. So overall, I was definitely really happy with what I saw in what isn't truly Scally's strongest position. We should be clear about that. He's definitely much stronger on the right-hand side, but shows great versatility in being able to play both. But if we want to play him potentially in his strongest position, I think he's a great backup for someone like Dest on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he did really well offensively. You could tell he liked to get forward. I'm a little worried about his 1v1 defending. I think that there were a couple of times I thought he was shaky and just didn't quite judge the speed of the Moroccan player who was able to get by him with a first touch with one simple move. And that's just something that's going to come with age and experience with the national team, I think. So it was a good debut overall, but I think that I would like to see a little more from him defensively and see what he can do on the right.
I kind of disagree with some of those pieces. I'm very happy that he's getting playing time, but his time on the pitch wasn't the greatest in my perspective. But the thing that I'm happy about is that we're in these exhibition games for a reason. The reason is to get these players up to speed, understanding what they need to work on, understanding the speed of the national game, understanding playing against a player like Hakimi. And that's really good experience for someone like Joe Scally. So honestly, I'm not going to crush him under my shoe just because he didn't have a great first moment with the US. I'm just really happy that finally he's going to be hopefully integrated with the team, and he's doing well enough to still be considered that kind of backup left back position, because we don't have many, and when we do, they're not being called into the national team. So hopefully Joe Scally can continue to be there. And then the other player in defense that came in was Cameron Carter-Vickers. I kind of want to ask you guys what you thought of Cameron Carter-Vickers' performance, as well as this question from Matt. Could we be overthinking the center back situation? With Brooks out of the picture, is it as simple as Zimmerman in one spot and pray like crazy that Chris Richards is healthy for the World Cup? So guys, what did you think of CCV? And is that the case? Is Zimmerman and Richards by far our best center back pairing?
I think it's definitely what you're going to see from Greg. And it'll be up to, I'll be curious to see if Richards does get the other spot. He needs to come back and get healthy. Personally, obviously for me, I definitely think he should be in there. But but it's, Greg is very much about playing who the hot hand is. So it wouldn't shock me to see him go with a different center back pairing. But right now, Zimmerman has definitely earned that spot as the right center back. The left center back position, if we're going to play 4 in the back, is the one that's open. And Chris spent a lot of time playing at a back 3 as the left center back with Hoffenheim. So I think he slides in very well to that left center back position and would pair well there with Zimmerman.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Richard Zimmerman is the best pairing going forward. I don't think we're going to see Brooks. And so if we don't see Brooks, then it's Zimmerman and Richards for me, hands down, is the 2 that we should see. Richards is only going to grow more comfortable in the national team. He looked great in qualifying. So for me, that sort of seems to be it. And then sort of choose 2 backups out of a hat to play with him. I don't think they'll see a lot of minutes in the World Cup. So might as well just grab 2 of these guys and go. CCV, I thought he had a decent game. I didn't really sort of have many notes on him besides the one moment where he kind of got lost and gave up a free header in the box. But he just sort of seemed pretty comfortable with the speed of the game and wasn't making many glaring errors, which I think is a good thing we can say about our center backs at this point.
Yeah, he's clearly very comfortable with the ball at his feet.
Yeah,
I think that's a big strength of his. And I think that's the difference you see in when Long has the ball and someone starts pressing him, I get a little nervous. But when CCV was in possession of the ball and people were pressing him, he looked super comfortable, knew exactly what to do with the ball. And that's the difference in what type of profile. It just depends on what Greg wants. Is it necessarily the more athletic guy, which we could say is Long, but CCV being more controlled and smoother on the ball. And I thought, CCV looked really good on the ball, and hopefully we'll see more of him in the against Uruguay.
Yeah. And we have on good authority from Jimmy Conrad that Eric Palmer-Brown will be getting at least 45 minutes against Uruguay. It just depends. We don't know if that's going to be starting next to Walker Zimmerman or maybe playing that CCV role in the second half that gets a second half run out. All right, guys, anything else to say on the defense that we missed?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think we covered it.
All right, let's move to our midfield. I thought
actually
this was the most... Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
If I could, one thing, I have been I have to eat a little bit of crow because I have been critical of Zimmerman's passing in the past and saying it's not necessarily his strength. He played to Pulisic, really impressive, great pass. So I'm not going to say all of a sudden he's great with playing the ball out of the back with his passing, but got to give credit where credit's due. That pass was a dime.
That was a world-class goal all the way around. It was fantastic to watch.
Yeah. Hopefully American football fans enjoyed that because I was like a quarterback throwing something just perfectly in the pocket. Yeah, I'm not the best American football fan to make that metaphor, but there it is for all of you that are new to soccer and what that meant. Okay, so let's move to the midfield.
If you want to get tangential, Jake, if you want to go tangential, Mark Sanchez was at the USO here in Kaiserslautern today. So my wife was working at the USO and got to meet Mark Sanchez. So speaking of NFL quarterbacks,
and you didn't bring him to the
coming out
to the live recording of It's Called Soccer.
Did what I could, man.
All right. Well, we'll suspend you for a match, but then you'll be back.
Fair play.
Okay, let's talk about this midfield. I thought it was personally the most dominant part of this U.S. team, not just in the first half when we played what presumably was our starters, Tyler Adams, Yunus Musah, and Brenden Aaronson, but when the subs came in, it was Luca De La Torre, Weston McKennie. Incredible all around. So what did you guys make of our midfield 3 and then kind of in attack when we needed to focus more on that possession style? What did you guys think of our midfield?
Tom, you go first.
I'm just super impressed with everyone who played in that game. There was just so much tidy passing combination. Yunus Musah, Luca De La Torre are so ball progressive. It's just a joy to watch them play. Musah probably over dribbled a little bit in this one, but I'm fine with that because he escapes pressure and he usually loses the ball in the attacking third if he's going to lose it. So that's okay by my book, something to work on. They were just, anytime Morocco was getting to the midfield, they were being turned away. It felt like watching the U.S. play Mexico back in November. They were just all over the field. And shout out to Brenden Aaronson for being so much improved over his September performance against El Salvador in the midfield to have a dominant performance and be the man of the match. It was great to see him sort of have that free roam role where he could join the attack. He could play right mid when we shifted in possession. The only thing I'll say is I would really like to see Gio Reyna there and see if he could sort of make that position his own at the World Cup.
Yeah. We're going to run into a point where our front six has 9-10 Champions League quality players, and that's a real new problem for the US to solve.
Yeah, man, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, it's just insane when you think about the midfield's getting real crowded real fast. But you know, good problem to have, definitely. Do we have the answer to who is the backup six at this point? After what you guys saw from Luca De La Torre, just throwing it out there.
I don't think so personally, just because we weren't playing in our traditional 4-3-3 for most of the game. And so De La Torre was more of a midfield 2 for most of the game rather than a true 6 where we're dropping him between the center backs like Tyler Adams does, playing a lot of cleanup. He's really tidy in possession when we're playing this possession-based game with 3 at the back, but I don't think that we got a true look at what he would be in the normal formation.
I'm kind of the same mindset. We have 5 matches left before the World Cup. He deserves, Luca De La Torre deserves a chance to try out for that backup 6 over Kellyn Acosta, but I don't know. He's just so versatile, right? Like, he could be our backup 6, but he's also the best backup to Yunus Musa and Weston McKennie at this point. And I guess throw Brenden Aaronson in the 8s now. Like, Luca De La Torre.
But Gio Reyna. So that's what I mean is, so can you shift potentially De La Torre into that role?
I think if we're playing more possession based, then absolutely we can. And he's dogged enough to be able to play that defensive responsibility. But if we're sitting back, I don't necessarily know if his physical abilities and his defensive traits will add to the way that we want to play in a defensive shape.
Yeah, the thing that Tyler Adams does so well that no one else in the pool does is he's so positionally aware of where he needs to be, when he needs to drop in between the center backs, when he needs to shift over and take a right back or a left back spot, when he needs to press forward and take the ball when he senses a dangerous attack coming. I don't know if I saw that from Luca De La Torre. He obviously can win challenges in the midfield, but there's so much more that goes into that 6th position under Berhalter that Adams does so well, and I just don't know if I've seen yet from him.
Yeah. I actually talked to Justin Moran about this. Sorry, real quick on that. I thought that, for instance, when we play with Tyler Adams on the pitch, we play a very certain way with him pressing and with him being able to protect our back line. I actually think when Tyler Adams isn't on the pitch, we would be better playing 2 holding midfielders, like 2 players that play just a little bit higher than Tyler Adams and don't necessarily have the exact same responsibilities as him. But because it's easier to train a team one way, then we're kind of looking for like the Tyler Adams B to play in his position.
Yeah. No, Justin, shout out to the video he put together of Luca, all his touches. It was a great video. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out.
Yeah. And guys, one more question about the midfield. Is Luca De La Torre now putting Kellyn Acosta and Yunus Musa on notice?
Acosta, maybe, for sure. I think Musa, we've seen the MMA midfield that we all love to see. So I'm not ready to abandon that and not have that as an option of the trio to put out there. I think that should be a formation that's definitely in our arsenal, and without Musa, we don't have that. But I think Luca De La Torre could be putting a little heat on Acosta.
I don't see Acosta as being in the same conversation as De La Torre still. And honestly, in a 26-man roster, I see very little reason why we can't bring both of them.
Yeah,
fair.
Midfield's getting crowded.
It is. All right. Yeah, I feel like that was a quick conversation for the best part of the team, but anything else on the midfield that you guys need to say? All right, front 3.
No.
Fluid front 3. 3 goals from open play. 2 goals from open play. 1 penalty by Haji Wright. Debut. What do you have to say about the offense? Ryan, start with you.
Even 3 shots on goal in the first 10 minutes, 1 from each player. Like, started out super hot. So, yeah, I think it was a great performance from everybody up top. There was nothing that I was really too disappointed with. It's hard to come away from this and find, something that you're upset about. One thing I thought was really interesting was a lot of the talk of the three on the left, and people kind of talking about if Pulisic's dropping too deep to come get the ball, and if he should be pressing high or trying to stay high to get the ball in more dangerous positions, in which I agree. I think we definitely want to see Pulisic in those type of positions. But I noticed when Tillman came in the game, Tillman did the exact same thing. So it makes me think that it's potentially from Greg's wanting him in those spaces, and if it's potentially getting crowded with Musa and Pulisic there. So I'd like to see Pulisic higher and be able to get the ball upfield a little bit more, but it looks like that's something that Greg wants out of the team. But I think Haji Wright is everybody's hot topic after this game, and I think deservingly so. He looked fantastic. His hold-up play was so good. There was 3 or 4 occasions in the second half that he was just at the last second able to get his foot in front and lay it off to somebody. So I thought he was really impressive with that. And then obviously, you see everyone's reaction after he does score the goal, the love he's getting from everybody. Seems like a guy in the locker room that everybody wants there, and culture is something that's very important to Greg. So I think we might be seeing a lot more Haji Wright.
Yeah.
Very wholesome moment.
If you haven't read Meg Swanwick's piece on Haji Wright's debut, you should definitely go read it. She talks a lot about how wholesome that was and how much that meant to both him and to Pulisic, especially for the rest of the team. I was really impressed with Haji Wright, not just his hold-up play, but his pace and his understanding of space. He makes such great runs in the channels. He knows exactly where to fill in to get the ball. When he does get the ball in the box, he has patience to sort of be able to shift the ball around. That Pulisic goal, the Pulisic penalty he wins, comes off of Wright holding the ball up in the box after making a great run and having the patience to recycle it to Tim Weah, which is a really great skill to have in a striker, to know when to make that decision. So I was very impressed with him. I was also extremely impressed with the forward's ability to take shots. I don't think we see enough of this with the U.S. men's national team, where players decide from the edge of the 18 or from outside the 18 even, just to have a go and test the keeper. And we saw Ferreira, Wright, Pulisic, Weah, Aaronson, all just firing shots off. And that was awesome to see, especially because we had 11 shots, 10 of on target, 1 blocked. And that 1 blocked was going to be on target if it wasn't blocked. So we had an excellent shooting night. You can't ever complain about a night like that from the front 3.
Yeah, I thought Jesus Ferreira maybe could have had 2 goals if he had curled that one a bit further and higher on the first shot. And then he had a really good moment where he was slipped in by Brenden Aaronson's pass and just tried to curl it to the far side again from the keeper, kind of same type of shot that he took the first one with. Maybe if he went near post, he would have scored that one. But I just thought the attack was so fluid. People were trying shots like you guys have talked about. You could tell that before Timothy Weah's goal, when he hit that knuckleball, he was kind of feeling his shot all night.
Oh, yeah.
He knew he could get it on target. He knew he could rip them. And if he could just get one more chance to hit that thing like he did, he would get that goal. Really quick before we move on as well, Elul, thank you for the super chat, $5. You're the man. You said Miguel Herrera, future USMNT coach.
Please no.
Former Mexico coach and currently the Tigres coach in Liga MX. At this point, I'll take Greg Berhalter over Miguel Herrera. I don't care what anyone's saying. I might be hopping on the train. He's at a 6 right now. He's at a 6 out of 10, Greg Berhalter in my mind. But he's slowly creeping up from 3, 4, 5. And if he can keep kind of implementing these building that brotherhood, and we'll see what the next 5 games look like. I mean, it has to be said, though, Morocco came to the U.S. only 2 days before the game. Must have been tired, must have been difficult. Hakimi was coming from a long break and coming back to the team with only a few days of training. Yeah, had to take an Uber. So it wasn't the best maybe moment for our opponent, even with the quality of the players that they had. Okay, guys, what was Greg's rating, 1 out of 10 from the Morocco match?
I'm going 7. I think that he showed positional flexibility, tactical flexibility that we don't normally see from him. All the subs that we wanted to see at 45 minutes were the exact subs we got. We got to see players that we really were interested in getting more looks at, getting more data on. And the team put together a great performance. There's very little to complain about. The only thing that I'll complain about is that Morocco did get 22 shots and just didn't get many of them on target. So there's definitely some cleaning up to do in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ryan,
I mean, overall, yeah, I mean, it's a 3-0 win. It's hard to say anything bad, about the, formation or lineup. I'm sure there's some things that people want to see differently in the next game. And, I think we can say that a couple changes in the next game would be welcomed. And, hopefully we continue to progress forward because we've got a really, really tough opponent in that next game.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. Great segue, Ryan. That's why we pay you the big bucks, which is zero. Okay, Gretche, you asked a question, and we'll get to this. The U.S. is taking on Uruguay at 5 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night. Uruguay has just beaten Mexico 3-0. This game against Uruguay will be a real test. Morocco has some solid players, but being tested by real quality like Edinson Cavani and Fede Valverde will give our guys an example of how the World Cup will be. Now, Tom, I want to call you out and just spotlight you for a second, because you said something really amazing when we had our introduction to this 4-game window in the summer. You said that the 3 games that we have, Morocco, Uruguay, and Grenada, kind of mirror how we're set up to play in our World Cup stage, where we'll play the Euro playoff winner first, so kind of our medium level opponent. We'll play England second, so our highest level opponent, and then Iran third. Still a good team, but our lowest level opponent. And in this sense, we've now taken care of business against Morocco, our middle level opponent. We're coming up against Uruguay, which is just kind of that next level, that next step up. What are you guys expecting from this match against Uruguay?
I'm actually expecting this to be an amazing proxy for a match against England. They play very similar. It's going to be a 4-4-2 instead of a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, whatever England decides to play in that match. But it's a team that likes to sit back. They're very positionally disciplined. They don't give up a lot of goals. And when they decide to break out, they can hit you and hit you hard. So it's a team that is very, very fearsome and very competent. Every time you watch Uruguay play, they are just a very strong team to watch.
Yeah, Ryan, what are you seeing?
Well, I mean, you're looking at a team that was third in qualifying out of South America. You listed some of the stars that are on their team, and it's a team that can counter very strongly, and that was a weakness that we just saw in the Morocco game. So, like Tom said earlier, those are some things that we need to clean up. So it's going to be a huge match for us. I think some welcome changes that I wouldn't mind seeing. I liked what I saw out of CCV, so I'd be okay with seeing a little bit more CCV in there. And De La Torre, I think, was just incredible. He was so much fun to watch. So I wouldn't be disappointed to see him maybe come in for Musa. Musa was looking a little tired at the end of the last game. So maybe get, a full 90-minute run out from Luka.
Definitely. And for me, I think that Uruguay is going to be an amazing test. Tom, like you said, they're probably going to be as close as possible to this England team. Now, I have done a bit of scouting on them. They seem to be fine, be very comfortable with having less possession than the opponent, but they're very efficient with their scoring and chances. They're very fast on the counter. They're brutal with their counters. And if you watch the highlights from the Mexico game, you can see how efficient they are with their chances. And personally, like, that's a great test for the US. Not just is it a team that might play similar to England, it's a team and a style that we have real trouble breaking down in CONCACAF. So now take all of that, put it in a really talented team from South America. They finished third in qualifying in South America. They qualified for the World Cup. They're unbeaten in 5 straight. Like we said, they beat Mexico in what is Mexico's home match in the US, played in the US. They defeated them 3-0 last night. But they just have quality all over the pitch. So I'm really excited about this game. And Jesse Morales says, love the context, fellas. Thank you. That's why we're here. And if you guys have any questions about this match or what you want to hear from us, make sure to put it in the chat. And anyone that has enjoyed this so far, please make sure to like this video so that it goes to more people. The fact that there are 73 people watching us right now is amazing. Again, we did a 1-year anniversary show last week that you can listen to on YouTube or Apple, Spotify, whatever. We were talking about that first episode that has like 80 views total from a year ago, like 365 days. So Matt Murata says, you can't criticize GGG for this game, Greg Berhalter for this game. The only thing for me is that I feel like everything we saw, tactics, subs, was planned. Can he adjust on the fly when things don't go as planned? Guys, is this game against Uruguay going to go as planned? What is the plan for the U.S.?
It's going to be to stick to the plan that he has originally. This is not a window where we're adjusting on the fly to try and win the games. Berhalter has things he wants to get out of each of these games. He has players he wants to try, formations he wants to try, tactics he wants to try. He wants to get these guys comfortable with each other. The results don't matter as much as sticking to the plan and getting the things we need to get out of this window. So I don't think we're going to see any sort of adaptation on the fly to try and preserve a 1-0 lead or try and come back from a 1-0 gap, a deficit. We're just going to try and keep that plan. But Berhalter is going to hopefully work on figuring out how to break that low block. And, you know, especially for me, the big deal is figuring out how to defend in transition. We go back to the Switzerland game last year. We go back to several instances in World Cup qualifying. This is a consistent problem for Berhalter teams is we don't defend very well in transition moments. When a team is able to get the ball and move fast, Morocco did it to us too. They can create real danger, and Uruguay has the team that they can make us pay in those moments.
Yeah. So do we change anything formation-wise from the Morocco game?
Yeah.
Do we stick with the 4-3-3?
For me, I would stick with the 4-3-3. You know, I think it's a formation that we've played a lot in, that we're going to be comfortable in possession against a team that's going to allow us to. We just have to not get stretched. A lot of times, you know, I think when we do get beat on the counter, you see massive gaps between our midfield. Like that's what we kind of saw against Morocco, is huge gaps between our midfield and defense. So if we can just not get stretched quite like that as a formation, you know, Tom talked about Uruguay playing in a low block. Greg's favorite diagonal passes, I think, is what we're going to see a lot of. And again, another reason why I would advocate for seeing a little bit more Haji Wright in that game is if we are going to be playing against a low block, you know, being able to play the ball out wide and swing in crosses. We all saw how everyone mobbed over to him after the goal, which was amazing to see, but he was a head taller than everybody. Like the guy's a big dude. So I think we could see that as still staying with the 4-3-3 formationally, but a couple of the subs and playing, you know, I could see them potentially going to, and I would like to see as well.
Yeah. If we switch nothing but put Eric Palmer-Brown and Aaron Long's spot to try him out and potentially have Haji Wright start this match and have Jesus or maybe Malik Tillman be the substitute striker. I think that could kind of give us a real sense for, is Haji Wright's form and talent real? Is it finally coming to fruition? And does he have a chance to usurp Jesus Ferreira as that number one striker? We won't necessarily know that unless he's able to play on fresh legs with our best 10 surrounding him.
Yeah, I agree. Now, one thing I'm going to really look at in this game is the pass map at the end. We saw against Canada last year in September and again against Canada in this year in January, that you sort of end up with this sort of horseshoe of doom passing map where nothing ends up in zone 14 in front of that 18-yard box. Nothing ends up entering the 18-yard box. When you're playing a team who's playing low, you have to be passing the ball into those dangerous areas and combining to try and open up some space so you can go wide, so they're not just packing into that center area and just staying there compact. We haven't seen the U.S. be good at that. I hope that we sort of have some ideas for how to make that 4-3-3 work to sort of get in those channels and create dangerous moments.
I mean, isn't that what Jesus Ferreira is best at, though? Kind of dropping into the hole and kind of shooting those balls out wide?
Yep, that is exactly why we bring him. That's exactly where he plays for Dallas. It's his most comfortable role as a striker.
Yeah. What would you guys think of?
I mean, we were talking about how good Haji's hold-up play was. So I think it would be interesting to see him in there with the 11 to see if he can do it as well. I think Ferreira has been great. I'm not saying one better than the other. We've seen a lot of Ferreira. He is good. And let's potentially see if, you know, Haji is an equal partner to that as well.
Yeah. Shout out to Soccer Not Football. Great name.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go with EPB and CCB though. Like,
yeah,
this is against Uruguay. It's a big game. Like, I would like to see how we really stack up against something like this. And we've seen a lot of Zimmerman. He's been that constant. So I want to see him start. Let's see how he stacks up against a Cavani. We'll never know unless we kind of give it an opportunity and a friendly. And if he can come out and have a strong performance against someone like Cavani, then matched up with an EPB or CCV, that's a tough one. That I think that would be the kind of the perfect duo for the next match. That's what I would prefer to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, this is Edinson Cavani is our only chance to see what a striker is going to look like against Zimmerman, who's a comparable quality to Harry Kane. Until we see Harry Kane, so let's see how he does against a really strong striker and multiple really strong midfielders behind them, like Bentancur, who are so good at just sort of combining and playing those balls into dangerous areas.
I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but there's a chance that Darwin Nunez, their other striker, who's probably the most sought after striker on the open market right now, there's a chance that Darwin Nunez starts this game over Edinson Cavani because Cavani played a lot of the game against Mexico. And that's not to say this still wouldn't be a test. Nunez is being chased by Manchester United, huge teams that want his talent. So whether it's Edinson Cavani or Darwin Nunez, it's going to be a really good test. But I completely agree with you. This is like the closest test that we will get to truly England level competition based on who we're hearing will play in the September friendlies. But we need to take this opportunity to truly test ourselves and at most make one or two changes from what we expect our best 11 to be.
Yeah, I just wouldn't put two center backs that have never played with each other again in this match. That's just not what I would potentially. Well, I guess in a sense we're going to do that if we do Zimmerman and CCV or EPB. Have they played together? Am I contradicting myself?
EPB came on as a right wing back against Mexico and played with basically every center back on this roster who's not CCV. But that's it.
Yeah. But at the same time, like at least you have Walker Zimmerman there that has played in this a lot. Whereas if you start EPB and CCV together,
yeah.
Takuya said, I think we try a
trying to keep myself honest.
Yeah, you got it. That formation relied on Reggie Cannon being a third center back, like a right back. So I do think that wrinkle that we used was dependent on Reggie Cannon having played that for Boavista before. But that's just an additional way that we can play when Reggie Cannon's on the field. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the new way that we're going to play going forward. It's more just that we got to run out with a very specific type of player that lets us play in a very specific type of way. And it worked really well. But that's not to say that we will always play now a 4-3-3 that switches into a 3-2-2-3 or whatever it was. It was really based on Reggie Cannon having that skill set.
And to be honest with you, I think with Dest, if we're starting Dest at right back, I think we can do the same thing just on the right-hand side. I'm perfectly comfortable with Anthony Robinson potentially being that, left center back in with whoever you want to play next to Zimmerman. I think we could use some flexibility to be able to do that on both sides. Or Scally. Great point.
I'm just sitting here thinking that Tim Ream would be perfect for that.
That's what we used to do with Tim Ream.
That's exactly what Tim Ream's role is for this team if you wanted to do that.
That's what he used to do. But
yep.
I think, but that limits us to doing it only on one side. What I'm trying to say is I'm comfortable with doing it both ways with two wingers that can get up the field. We just have to be positionally sound and not get caught out with both guys up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still more comfortable with Reggie Cannon doing it with anyone else. And actually, it's sort of flipped my opinion on where I have Cannon and Yedlin in my depth chart. I think that the extra wrinkle of being able to play Cannon in that right center back spot so comfortably, a position he plays so well for Boavista, puts him above Yedlin for me, where I originally had those two flipped as a player that you almost can't leave off the World Cup roster because he gives you that extra wrinkle. It's something that's comfortable with. We could throw Anthony Robinson at left center back. It's not a position he's ever played before. It's something that would take some getting used to. Whereas we just know you can drop Cannon there and he'll produce 6 out of 10 every time.
And Ryan C in the comments, his question is, do we see Scally at right wing back for a full half at least? Do we see him on the right side this game instead of substituting for Jedi on the left?
I'd love to.
Yeah, put him in as what you said, Ryan, his natural right. So Bentancur is injured, I believe, but they do still have Federico Valverde from Real Madrid, the Champions League winner. They have Lucas Torreira, who was on loan from Arsenal at Fiorentina. So they still have really strong midfield players that play in the center. Sam from Yank Report, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, man.
What are you going to say?
No shout out for Diego Rossi in there, Tom?
I mean, I don't know. He's more of an outside winger for me. He's not really a central midfielder.
I was really considering putting him as a key player just because MLS.
I was wondering if anyone was going to bring him up.
He's crossed my mind a few times, but he doesn't really start. And I think he could be a player we really do see in this game, but he's not a player that I'm as worried about. He's sort of a Haji Wright level Turkish league player.
Yeah. And guys, so in the match against Morocco, we talked about how difficult it will be once we have players that are healthy again in the front six, trying to fit 8 or 9 Champions League level players into the front six. Now, Sam's question from the Yank Report is, I'm intrigued by the same formation that we played with Dest instead of Jedi. So now we're talking about one of our best players, one of our most informed US players, Jedi, and the Barcelona man, the shout out to this jersey. I don't know if you can see the Dest on the back. But yeah, Dest playing at left back for the US in that way where he's going up into the left wing. We've actually seen that as a wrinkle for Barcelona before. Is that a good enough reason to play Sergino Dest when he's healthy in for Jedi and maybe still have Reggie Cannon there as the right center back? Or do you think Jedi just has to be the left back at this point?
For me, it's just not maximizing the amount of talent that we can get on the field. That's just my personal opinion on it, is that I would prefer have Dest on the right and have Jedi on the left. So again, we can try to have the flexibility to both be able to push up the right and the left. I think that's where we get our best 11 out there and potentially our most dangerous.
I do want to play devil's advocate here. You're trading Anthony Robinson for Gio Reyna or Brenden Aaronson. Is that a switch that we want to make? Is that a worthwhile switch? Because that's sort of the question mark. You gain Reggie Cannon at center back. You're sort of losing Anthony Robinson, but you are gaining another winger. And we have so many talented wingers. Is that a worthwhile trade?
It's a really good question. I don't know. I need to think about that for a little bit, Tom. I will say, though, that what I saw from Jedi's responsibility in the game against Morocco wasn't necessarily to be an offensive creator. He was more there to occupy the space that allowed Christian Pulisic to play a more free roaming. Yes, Jedi got in behind the line sometimes. He swung in some crosses, but he wasn't necessarily being asked to dribble at people to be a creator. He was more there to occupy the space where Hakimi was and the right-sided center back for Morocco so that Pulisic could drop into the space. So if we're talking about Dest in for Jedi, I would see Dest as a way to beat a man on the dribble, beat a man and maybe go into the box, play some 1-2s. It's a little bit different. I think Jedi was kind of the perfect player for the way that we were playing against Morocco. If we have a different style or tactic that we're going to try out, maybe Dest is better there. But for me,
I think, potentially from a spacing standpoint, you need to have somebody outside to help open up in the middle. So potentially, if we have Dest who's playing on the left, but he's favors his right, he's going to want to cut into that space. If we have Musa there, Musa's in that space. If we have Pulisic dropping deep, so it could crowd things a little bit, and I think they kind of complement each other pretty well right now.
Yeah, definitely. Sam said, I like the flexibility. Can't expect Jedi to play every minute. You can't, for sure, but he has so far.
he's done it in several World Cup qualifying windows. So yeah, I'm not betting against Jedi at all going 270 in a World Cup group stage.
Yeah.
All right, definitely really smart, though, to have some tactical flexibility.
Yeah. Soccer, not football. We're going to rate your starting 11 for Qatar. Slanina. Oh, I'm not even going to rate this. Slanina's in goal. He's not even on the top 3 depth chart. For that, I'm going to give it a 2.5, and we'll move on. One other question: when Reyna comes back healthy and he's getting a full preseason with Dortmund, he's kind of back in form. Has Weah done enough now to kind of push Reyna into more of the midfield discussion? Is it easier to fit Gio Reyna into like an advanced 8 or even a 10 rather than take Weah out?
So I think he has the ability to do both. If you go back to, previous podcasts and stuff, I've been saying I want to see Gio in the middle for quite a while now. But, like Yank Report said, we can't have Robinson play every minute. Right now, Weah has been so strong out there on the right-hand side that, everyone has him penciled in as the starter, and deservingly so. But, hey, he can't play every minute. So who else? Gio, I think, could definitely get minutes out there. He can play in the middle. Aaronson has that same flexibility. It's really a great situation that we're in right now.
Yeah, I think that 3 wingers, 270 minutes, you give all 3 of them 180 minutes. Divide that up however you want to, and you just go. And, you always have someone coming in fresh to play.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like we've never been in this situation before. I hope people really grasp how incredible it is. What a great time it is to be a U.S. soccer fan.
We know that all 3 of these guys can play the super sub role, so I'm comfortable with any of them coming off the bench for 20 minutes to impact a game at the World Cup, and think they could all do it. This is an awesome problem to have. I am really excited that we actually have to talk about this.
Yeah, so let's talk about this then. We're about to play Uruguay, probably our best test going into the World Cup. What's the result that you guys are looking for?
Ooh.
Result? Like I don't know that I necessarily like I'd like to see, if it's 1-1, I would be pretty happy with that result. If we happen to come away with a win, that's a huge performance for us. It'll be interesting to see the 11 that Uruguay puts out there. But again, their lineup is just has so much talent on it that it'll really be the biggest test for us. So 1-1 draw would be fine, just as long as we don't get shellacked something like 3-4-0. I come out of it, I feel okay.
Yeah, since I'm going to be there, I request that we score at least 1 goal and hopefully get a draw. That's
Fair.
sort of my sort of request. It's just more fun to be in the American Outlaws section when you score. So that's my big hope.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the question was more like the same as what I asked when we had the first 4 game overview, is like, what does success look like? I think for me, I want to see more of the same from Morocco. Can we do it against a team that's better and plays in a different way? And a little part of me does want to have a better result than Mexico. Can we lose less than 3-0 or draw or win? Then that might be success for me.
A draw would be a huge result. I think that's an enormous
that's a good
result
way to
for
look
us.
at it, Jake.
Thank you. Okay, just a few more questions to finish up, and then we'll wrap up with last words. Takuya said the people want to see Timothy Weah at the 9. Is that the way to get
Weah
our best 11 on the field?
But Weah has said multiple times he doesn't like playing center forward. He doesn't like playing the 9. You can tell he's feeling himself like out on the right-hand side right now. I wouldn't mess with that. That's a man that likes being out there and is in good form. So for me, I keep him on the right.
Yeah, same for me. He's on the right for me. I don't see him at the 9.
All right, and last question. Timothy Tillman, there's rumors of him switching. Ryan, I'm going to go to you, our man on the ground in Germany. Have you seen I'm going to do my best. Greuther Fürth game? And what do you think of Timothy Tillman if he makes the switch to the U.S.?
Close. Very, very close. Greuther Fürth is the team that he plays for. And so it's cool because, both the Tillmans, they come from Nuremberg, and Greuther Fürth is literally the town that's right next to it. So those guys are Timothy Tillman right now is literally playing for his childhood club. And, I think he's a guy that showed that a lot of us, myself being one of them, was really pushing for Julian Green in the start of the season. But Timothy Tillman beat him out playing in that exact same position. So he's going to be dropping down into this in the Zweitliga or the second Bundesliga next year. So I highly rate the second Bundesliga, but unfortunately, I don't think Greg does. I think we were talking about how crowded the midfield is. It's pretty tough to squeeze a guy in one like that, especially this late in the phase. I don't know that we could really squeeze him in this late. He's a talented guy. I think he could fit right in with the team, but I think, Greg not calling in many people from second leagues, besides Shaq Moore being one of them. Besides that, I don't think he calls many other people in that are in second league. So I think it's a long shot for Timothy Tillman to to be called in, but I think he's definitely talented enough and could fit in with the team.
There's rumors that he's going up again, despite being relegated to maybe Schalke is interested in getting him. So I don't think that he's going to stay in the 2 Bundesliga. I think that someone will snatch him up. It'd be interesting to see what he can do, but this is really late in the game to introduce someone like that. I think you introduce Malik and see if there's a chance that he can play in the roster, but he's really, really on the fringes and is not likely to make this World Cup roster.
Yeah.
But I think this is the perfect time. Getting him integrated in now at least opens the door. I'm just saying the door's open.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'll be interesting to see how preseason goes at Munich, and if he's potentially even getting like cup matches and stuff for Munich. I think he could potentially be one of those late risers that makes it in at the last minute.
Yeah. I mean, Robert Lewandowski is going to a new team. His chances went from 1% being a Bayern Munich player this season or a regular substitute starter to 4%, 5%. So the chances are rising.
Well, to be clear though, I don't think Malik Tillman is really a 9 though. I think you saw him being really being comfortable dropping into those pockets underneath. I think you'll see more from that out of him at Munich as well, either playing outside on the wing to where he can tuck in and play underneath a number 9.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, last words, y'all. Takuya said, appreciate the show. Great work. Thanks so much, everyone that's joined in. Been amazing support, lots of chatter, lots of questions to answer. So it's been awesome. Tom, we'll go to you first. What is your last word, sir?
Last word is just get hyped. We got another couple games coming up, couple weeks of really awesome soccer to watch, which will be really, really exciting. If you're in Kansas City this weekend, come find me. We'll be at the American Outlaws tailgate. We'll have a 12-pack of beer and a soccer ball if you want to kick a ball around, hang out for a little bit before the game starts. Love to see you, meet some people who listen to the podcast. If you're not going to be there, I will be in the American Outlaws drum corps. See if you can try and spot me on the broadcast. Usually we get put up there at least once a game. So hope to see everyone out in Kansas City.
Awesome. Ryan, how about you?
Just thank you to everybody for coming by. The live stream is always fun because it has a little different vibe to it. You can, people are watching live versus the recorded version. So these are always super fun to do. And, I just appreciate people firing questions at us, and having that back and forth with you guys is what makes this really fun. So just thanks to everybody for coming out.
Well said. I got nothing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, support the podcast and the show. We'll see you next time.